Welcome back, Nerd Squad. We have been talking a lot about hot superheroes recently, but one we have yet to touch on, who is probably one of the hottest and most popular female superheroes in DC, is Zor-El, Superman's cousin, Supergirl. A version of Supergirl who was wished into existence by Jimmy Olson appeared first in Superman issue 123 in 1958, where she was a one-off character. But the official version of Supergirl that most know and love from the main continuity, created by Otto Binder and Al Plastino, made her first appearance in Action Comics issue 252 in 1959, making her one of the earliest appearing female supers, though of course Wonder Woman famously still has quite a few years on her. Today we'll be taking a look at just what has drawn readers in when it comes to Supergirl to allow her character to stand the test of time and become considered as one of the most widely admired and attractive female supers in DC by counting down the top 10 hottest Supergirl alternate versions, as it's often through characters' alternates that we are able to examine all the different potential angles and sides of a character. And be sure to stick around to the end of this list where I will have some bonus content coming your way. Alright, let's get counting. Number 10. Carol and Jane Kent. These two alternate Supergirls, Superwomen, may not have the flashiest of costumes, but they get some bonus hotness points for being the capable, smart, and eventually futuristic versions of Supergirl. In the miniseries Superman's Secret Identity, there doesn't appear to be a cousin to Superman that we are introduced to. Instead, he meets his own alternate version of Lois, falls in love, and the two have a family together. Their two twin daughters, Carol and Jane, don't initially appear to have superpowers as they grow up, but once they are young adults, Clark thinks he spots them in the sky, and eventually it is revealed that they are this alternate universe's Supergirl twin team. Two Supergirls is better than one Supergirl. Number 9. New 52 Supergirl. This version of Supergirl ended up becoming a Red Lantern. She was pulled to the side of confusion and rage after she crash-landed on Earth and was met by a man claiming to be Kal-El, her cousin. This confused version of Kara didn't believe him, as her last memory of her cousin was of him as a baby, and she didn't know that her pod had been stuck in orbit around the sun for about 2 decades, giving Superman, who got to Earth first, enough time to grow up while Kara remained frozen as a teenager in her pod, not aging. After their fight, Kara left Earth to investigate. Eventually, the rage she felt over the loss of Krypton and her guilt as a survivor prompted a Red Lantern ring to seek her out. New 52 Supergirl wears a small one-piece bodysuit instead of a top and skirt. This shows off more of her legs, but also, I think, makes more sense than a skirt, given all the flying she does. She also has a really sweet cape. Number 8. AME-COMI Supergirl. In this reality, Supergirl is actually the cousin to Power Girl and is sent after as the older cousin to take care of younger Power Girl. But Power Girl arrives on Earth far ahead of her older cousin, so by the time Supergirl, Zor-El, arrives, Power Girl is now the older of the two. Supergirl here is drawn in a more anime style, and her crop top appears to be a little bit shorter. Her cape also sometimes appears to be longer, and 3 sort of separate pieces of fabric that trail behind her as she flies. Number 7. Kara Inzi. For those who originally were introduced to the world of comics via cartoons or animated series, this alternate version of Supergirl from the DCAU may hold a special place in your heart, and perhaps in your loins. Kara Inzi appeared in the Superman animated series in the 90s and Justice League Unlimited. For some, her determination, bravery, and overall sassiness were the main appeal. Her original outfit was actually taken from comic alternate Linda Danvers. Although the show wanted to use the name Zor-El and bring Supergirl into the then DCAU just straight up, DC at the time said no to their request, forcing them to create an alternate inspired version of Supergirl known as Kara Inzi. This was because of DC's precedent at the time that Superman remained the only surviving Kryptonian. There can only be one. Number 6. Galatea. Galatea is the evil clone of Kara Inzi from the DCAU. This version of Kara goes by the name Galatea, has shorter cut hair, and is often portrayed as an older version of Supergirl. She more closely resembles Power Girl, despite being a fairly straight-up clone of Supergirl. Galatea was created by Star Labs, who got their hands on Supergirl's genetic material while she was in their medical care, after she had been caught in the explosion of a kryptonite missile. Galatea fought with Supergirl after the two discovered that they were psychically linked. Galatea was wounded in that fight and forced to retreat and recover at Star Labs, where she was also artificially aged to the point of her physical prime, granting her more power, enhanced strength, and a more developed figure and stature. She's taller. Number 5, Linda Danvers. Linda Danvers is an alternate version of Supergirl who is also super confusing. But because I am a fan of confusing things and I'm a fan of her cute outfit, I wanted to include her on this list, so I'm going to do my best to try to explain who exactly she is. Matrix was the version of Supergirl who merges with Linda Danvers to become an all-new version of Supergirl. Who or what is Matrix? Well, basically Matrix is a shape-shifting entity created by a good-ish version of Lex Luthor and given that universe's Lana Lang's memories. Matrix merged with the Linda Danvers as she lay dying, causing them to become one entity in order to save Linda's life. Except that Linda then also kind of had her own separate consciousness, separate from Matrix. Sometimes one of them is stronger, more of a dominant presence in their body than the other. Matrix could now only shift between the two forms of brunette Linda and a blonde Supergirl, and later finds out that when merging with Linda at the time of her death, they actually became a new being also referred to as an Earthborn Angel. In their case, an Earthborn Angel of Fire. This version of Supergirl was hot and brave enough to have Superman of Earth-1 fall in love with her, which is kind of creepy because a little incestuous, but also not really incestuous because alternate Earths. While also being kind of sweet. Creepy and sweet. Ugh. Number 4, CIR-EL. This alternate version of Supergirl is actually from a potential future. She initially claims to be the daughter of Superman and Lois Lane, after Lois Lane freaks out thinking Superman had an affair in the future that leads to CIR-EL being born. While Superman is confirmed to be her genetic father, Lois is not confirmed to be her genetic mother. In the end, we find out that she was actually made by Brainiac 12 using Superman's genetic material, and that she has an alter ego residing within her, a woman named Mia, who hates both Zor-El and Superman. In the end, CIR-EL ends up sacrificing herself to save her father and humanity from the Yes virus, which she was designed to spread, and from the violent future that the virus would have created. She's another strange, but still quite hot, alternate version of Supergirl. Apparently, we'd like our Supergirls to kind of have confusing backstories. Number 3, DC Bombshell Supergirl. In the alternate universe of the DC Bombshells, Supergirl's pod ends up crash landing in Russia instead of America. She is then taken in by a Russian couple, Apati and Varvara, who raise her alongside their daughter, Courtney Duganova. Courtney herself was the biological daughter of Varvara, but not of Apati. Varvara had an affair with an Englishman, but was forced to flee to Siberia with her new daughter. It was there that she met and married her husband, Apati. Both sisters end up joining the Russian Air Force, and after Courtney's plane explodes and Kara uses her powers to save her, the Russian government decides to make these two women their new faces of the Russian military. Courtney is given a cosmic staff and becomes, surprise surprise, Stargirl, and Kara, with her Kryptonian powers, is called Supergirl. Number 2, Dark Supergirl. Dark Supergirl was created with black kryptonites. We later find out that she is actually a part of Supergirl herself and is simply the darker, evil parts of her split off. Dark Supergirl ends up taking on members of the Justice League, but in the end was defeated when Wonder Woman ended up accidentally re-merging the good Supergirl and evil Supergirl back into one being, using her lasso of truth. The Dark Supergirl persona remained with Kara for a time, residing within her, and would sometimes kind of pop back up. Eventually it was discovered that this personality split was being caused by Kara's mental health, as she was suffering from severe PTSD and guilt, and in the end, she was able to reconcile this divide by forgiving herself and acknowledging that she was not to blame for the destruction of Krypton. Number 1, Power Girl. Okay, well, Power Girl isn't really a straight-up alternate version of Kara and is more of a completely different person who in continuity existed really before Supergirl, though historically her character wasn't introduced in the comics until the 70s. Power Girl is considered one of the hottest characters in DC. Period. Never mind as a potential alternate of anyone. So of course I couldn't have a Supergirl list without mentioning her, even if she is less of an alternate version and more of simply her own character with a similar backstory from an alternate Earth. a lot of people do still consider Power Girl to be an alternate version of Supergirl, even though it's really not that cut and dry, but she is also like a version of Supergirl, I guess. Earth 2 Supergirl, if you will. Except that maybe Supergirl is an alternate version of her? I don't know. They're alternates of each other. They're equal. That's all I'm saying about it. Thank you so much for watching, Nerd Squad. Who is your favorite alternate version of Supergirl? Which do you think is the hottest? Which costume of Supergirl's do you like the best? Let us know in the comments below. And speaking of comments, it's time to turn to some comments for one of our latest videos, Top 10 Superheroes Who Have Died the Most. Victor Thompson comments, I need that Miles Morales poster behind you. How do I get it? Well, mine was given to me as a gift, but I'm sure if you go to a con, whenever we can go to cons again, where Robbie Rodriguez is signing prints, you could probably find one. You could probably buy a print and maybe he'd sign it for you. Tulloch asks, is that your room? I have much more respect for you since you are like one of us, instead of a flexing YouTuber. Lol, it's actually my living room, not my bedroom, but close. And honestly, it is the best space I simply have in my apartment to film in. My apartment is full of lots of things on the walls, and it's all very distracting. If you can believe it, this is the least busy area of my apartment. It's a very small apartment, mostly covered in board games. I will eventually go back though to that YouTuber, I guess, flex look of our lovely studio, which I am actually missing a ton right now, but we're still just waiting till it is safe for that to happen. And that's all the time we have for comments today. Be sure to comment below for a chance to have your thoughts and feels shouted out in a future video. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I'm your host, Amanda McKnight, reminding you, as always, to stay nerdy, YouTube.